FOX-8 News.
Time now 6:15. The battle over high gas prices comes to Louisiana today. Yesterday in Washington, Senate Democrats lost a key test vote on a bill that would have ended tax subsidies for the 5 biggest oil and gas companies. It fell 8 votes short. The bill would have cut off the $2 billion a year in tax breaks that Shell Oil, ExxonMobil, ConocoPhillips, BP, and Chevron are now enjoying. Question is, would passage have triggered those companies to drive up gas prices even more? It's just one of the aspects of the debate over how to lower gas prices. Louisiana Congressman Steve Scalise and Michigan Congressman Fred Upton join us here this morning to tell us a little bit about a new strategy to get production of drilling going again in the Gulf of Mexico.
Well, good morning. Good to be with you, Jen. And what we're looking at doing is increasing the supply of energy in America. As you saw, the Senate was trying and the President are trying to raise taxes on American-made energy, which would only raise the price of gas at the pumps even higher. What we're trying to do is lower the price by increasing the supply. One of the things we want to do is take some members of Congress out to the deep water, actually go to a deep water rig to see just how energy is produced in America and where there are billions of barrels of known reserves, in many cases that are shut off by the federal government. And we're trying to pass legislation. We just passed bills in the House that will open up some of these areas for supply that will actually lower the price and create good jobs here.
Congressman, you're from Michigan. You were just telling me you've never been on a rig. You're about to see how one operates. Do you think that's going to give you a greater level of comfort in pushing for removing what we call here in Louisiana the permitorium?
Well, I agree, absolutely. And, you know, we don't have drill. We were laughing before we got on. We don't have drilling in Lake Michigan. You do have drilling here. A third of our oil comes from the Gulf. And sadly, because of the moratorium, we have seen production really drop. In fact, it's 100,000 barrels a day less production than was predicted only last fall. And when you look at the long-term trends, you're talking about as much as 500,000 barrels a day less than it was in 2009, 2010. Our economy is beginning to rebound again. A third of our oil comes from the Gulf. You can't close this off if we're going to try to become energy independent. It is a national security issue as well. So Steve is leading, I think 6 of us are coming in today, and we're going to go out and look at one of the Chevron platforms way out there.
If things don't change, if they stay the way they are now in terms of permits, I think they've issued 3 new ones since the Deepwater Horizon disaster.
Not enough.
Not enough in your opinion.
Way.
How high do you think gas prices will go?
Well, you know, one of the things that's going to happen here soon, the end of the month, is the reformulated gasoline, which will add another 10 to 12 cents a gallon come the end of the month through the rest of the summer. But some are predicting, if things don't change, particularly with the unrest in the Middle East, we could have $5 gas later on this summer. That's not acceptable, let's face it.
3 permits again issued since the Deepwater Horizon. Can you give us an idea of what you think the holdup is? Is it truly fear that a repeat of this type of disaster is going to happen again, or is it more politics?
No, it's very much politics coming out of Washington. And if you look at the policies of President Obama, gas prices have more than doubled since he became president. And when he was running, his energy secretary actually said they wanted to boost the price of gasoline to the levels in Europe. Unfortunately, they're getting their wish because we're on that track. And so clearly they've laid out a set of policies that are shutting off American supply, and they're getting what they wanted, but our companies, our local companies, are struggling. Many companies are hanging on by the vine. We just had a bankruptcy a few months ago that laid off almost another 1,000 jobs. And basically the policies that they've had have said you have no ability to go get a permit, and there's no clear path. What we're looking for is consistency. Just tell us what the rules of the game are. We've increased the bar on safety, and the bills we passed out of the House actually require higher safety levels. But unfortunately, this administration says even if you're following all the rules, complying with all the new safety regulations, you still can't get a clear path to get a permit. That's not the way to do business in America. Frankly, it's why we've seen over 12,000 jobs leave South Louisiana since this permitorium was installed. And I think it's so important that we have Congressman Upton in town, because he's the chairman of the House Energy and Commerce Committee. And while I serve on that committee, he's the chairman of the committee and helped shape this policy nationally. And I think it's really says a lot that he wanted to come down here to see firsthand and meet with people in the industry to find out what we can do to help free up that permitorium and get people back to work and produce energy in America.
So, Chairman, could you give us a quick thumbnail of how do you drive down gas prices?
Well, you know, it is, people understand supply and demand. We've seen now in the last 2 weeks in the House, legislation move through the House floor that it begins to break up this logjam. We're going to continue to do that, this drumbeat, almost every week. We've got some ideas that are going to come out of our committee, Energy and Commerce. We're going to pass those bills on the House floor. We're going to put a lot of pressure over there on the Senate, and maybe we'll get their attention as these gas prices sadly continue to escalate. Actually, I think we had a little bit of a victory this last weekend when President Obama actually came out and agreed with us when, in fact, they were opposing us every step of the way the last 2 weeks. So we've gotten a little bit of a wake-up call down there.
Yeah, I think they're feeling the heat. And, you see the gas prices getting higher. We're almost at $4 a gallon here in New Orleans. People are expecting it to approach $5 as the summer months continue on. And so as that price gets higher and people get more frustrated, they're looking at these policies and they're realizing that it's the president's policies that are causing these prices to go higher. And we can do something about that. And so while we're moving legislation in the House, we want to put the heat on the Senate and on the president to change their approach and actually let us create more of our supply here in America so we're not so dependent on these Middle Eastern countries, many of whom don't like us.
Well, we certainly appreciate your time, gentlemen. I hope you have a wonderful tour and welcome to South Louisiana.
I like the weather report. So that'll be good out there.
Have a good time out on the rig, and we hope you learn lots about how we do energy here. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.